hello. This is Lucas Michael.
And this is Gabrielle Christensen, your co-host.
And welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome back. Welcome to March.
Yeah, welcome back to the show.
I'm Gabrielle Christensen, your co-host.
I'm Lewis Michael.
We wanted to let you guys know. Usually we start off with a random section, just kind of going over little bits of information we heard throughout the week. It could be related to nerdy things, of course, but anime, video games, pretty much just a free-for-all. We head about 10 to 15 minutes in. Michael will have it in the description. Exactly what kind of timestamp, we'll head to the main topic. And then after that, we usually end up going for the news. Main topic's usually around 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. And then news is ridiculously long for some reason. But yeah, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We do have the Buy Me Coffee things. So if you want to help support this channel and all the other stuff that we do, you can go there and just check out all the links there. I did make a I don't know how you would pronounce it, but it's LIINKS website is like a digital business card. So like it just shows it has a link to all of our social medias and all the other links there. So
cool. You can also check out a link to the webcomic.
Yeah, it's like all that is there, and it would say like Geeking around the webcomic, and you just click on that and it go right to that. Also, I don't know if I will have it out by around the time this podcast come out, but might be in another Kira Star Wars stories in my Star Wars comic Kickstart on. So if you want to get a physical copy, that is the best way.
Pretty awesome story, I'd say, for all you shippers out there especially.
And like if we get to a certain milestone with this Kickstarter, it will help get started with the part 2 of Kira, which there will be another Kickstarter, like an actual Kickstarter for the part 2 one.
Awesome.
So been a lot of rumors about like new Apple stuff, like the M1 MacBook Pro and the 16-inch, and there would be a 14-inch, so replacing the 13-inch. They are, one great thing about it, according to this rumor, is that they've taken away the touch bar. So Apple bullshit excuse of having touch on the Mac that no one other than a few dumbass YouTubers who likes it because it displays emojis while they typing. So like for everything else, it's completely useless. They also will be adding back the SD card. Was so dumb of Apple to get rid of when they put all USB-C on the Macs. Like that was like the one port that they should not have gotten rid of. It's just used by so many creative types. Musicians use it to transfer music from a recording device. Photographers use it to transfer photos from the camera. Video photographer, filmmakers, the same thing. So many different, the main people who buy Macs use that, because that's how we was originally going to be recording this podcast, was through a recorder device. Then we was transferred to the Mac or the computer to edit it. But I figured it'd be a lot easier to just record it right to the computer.
There are lots of people, though, like you were saying, who use SD cards as the external storage.
Mm-hmm.
That even if they're wanting everyone to go to iCloud, I imagine, and pay for that extra amount to have extra storage, people still like to have a hard copy backup just in case anything weird happens. It's just nice to have something tangible.
Plus, like on Macs, they have been kind of a little bit better about this, but like on Mac, like to upgrade your storage, it's very expensive. So getting just a SD card, popping that in is way less expensive, $1,000 or something, because they can
Holy
get
crap.
pretty expensive.
Yeah, especially like you said, for artistic professionals, photographers, or anyone else in that realm. You're going to have lots of pictures you're not going to get rid of. It might be clients' pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That's stuff that's necessary to hold on to. So, again, I was always an Android. Everything was better with Android. Samsung, until Samsung came out with their new phone and everything they mocked Apple for, they went ahead and did themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, we can also get rid of the headphone jack to sell people overpriced airless headphones, earbuds. Of course, we'll also get rid of our SD card because we want you to pay for Samsung Cloud.
I was very surprised to hear that about the SD card, because I always kind of look at that was more of a pro feature, and like the Note was always the pro feature, and the pro phone, and they got rid of that. But like still, like the few things that I think made Android or Samsung Galaxy better is the pen support on iPhone. Nothing. What else? There was like three things.
The SD card.
Yeah, well that, but there was three other things. Oh, well, it does have the you can do the Xbox Game Pass. Can't do that on iPhone, only because they don't want it to, camerize the own little Game Pass thing called Apple Arcade, which sucks because there's nothing on there that even worth playing, and it's like, who fucking cares about these games?
I mean, I just like Samsung because it used to be. I had a really bad experience with a couple of iPods that were just they fell apart because they were cheap as far as some of the materials for the volume buttons. It was very cheaply made, so I was like, why?
Phil Shelton, I can't even say his name. He was the marketing head, and he's not anymore because he retired. He was the one who created the strolling wheel thing.
Yeah.
He was the one way back then.
Thought you were gonna say not like a Philips, because my little Philips was amazing, but that's what I was like. Oh, I'll just spend the extra money and get Androids. I'm sure, they have quality and they have some nice phones that are, a little bit cheaper sometimes, but just as nice as not anymore. I probably will get an Apple my next phone.
Oh, and the other thing was the USB-C on there, so you can get fast charging.
Yeah.
On Apple, there was actually a rumor that, or something announcement that there won't be no USB-C on the iPhone.
Well, that means Samsung next year is going to get rid of it too, after they have a marketing campaign making fun of iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time for a new phone producer to enter the market, honestly. Going to get political here in a moment because that's always fun. I think Samsung and iPhone are now kind of like Republicans and Democrats. They're like, oh, no, we disagree on such and such. You can see which party you want to vote for, which product you want to buy, but really in the end, they end up being about the same.
Yeah.
As far as not necessarily caring for consumers first as much as what's going to make them money.
Going back to the Mac, they are also adding back HDMI, which is weird because I just don't see a lot of people using HDMI anymore when it comes to computers. Like everything else, yeah, they still use it, like all the game systems and all the DVD players or Blu-ray players and TVs and stuff. They still use it, but most computers are already been going to USB-C, or like most of like the best models you can buy for Apple products. Apple computers use all Thunderbolts, which is USB-C, but like a USB-C Pro version of it. So I thought that was kind of weird to hear that they are putting that back. They're also putting back the original mag save, which is awesome. Like it has this like it's the charge on that has like it connects to it um, magnetically. So if you walk past your desk and like the cord wrapped around your foot or something, it would actually not knock down the whole computer. It would just rip it out and be complete. I shouldn't say rip it out, but it would take it out and be completely fine. Microsoft Office does that since Apple went with only USB-C back in 2015, 2016. It, they never had that anymore, that feature anymore, but now they bringing it back, so that's good.
That is good. Sounds like they're listening, at least.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like, because I mentioned this once before on a podcast where I, we, they are saying that a lot of this was Johnny Ives, like, ideas to do all these weird ass things, and now that he's gone, they've been at, like, going back, taking those features out. So, I don't know. I mean, he was just the chief designer, so I don't know why he would have, that much power. It's just weird. Yeah, there was a lot of rumors for Apple products, and I can't think of them. Oh, one big one that I was really surprised about, disappointed that we didn't get it when they released the new iPad Air, but the iPad Mini will finally get that iPad Pro look to it, where it removes the home button, so now you got a much bigger screen, but at the exact same size overall. So you get, I think it's like going from like a 7.9 to almost a 9-inch display.
Nice.
So like I always thought that was cool to do that. Ever since they started doing that with the iPad Pro, I'm like that'd be perfect with the iPad Mini, and I think the new iPad Pro is getting mini LED, which is a lot better for color and stuff. And Apple has always been really great about the color on the displays, so it'd be more color accurate.
Very cool.
And that's about it. I mean, there was a lot more stuff, but that's all I can remember off the top of my head now.
It's also because we're like, yeah, it's new section's only 10 to 15 minutes, so. I do want to say real quickly, Boruto's finally getting better. It was kind of weird. It dragged and dragged and dragged the anime series compared to the plot in the manga. Like, started off strong, and then it dragged on for like 120 episodes without a lot happening from the manga's perspective in the anime. Like, it was just like 120 episodes of filler. But now, all of a sudden, all the plot is happening. And like the last 20 episodes, it's just been straight up, oh, here's the plot. Here's the plot, where you think you would like sprinkle a little slice of life filler in there. It's just straight plot, which is, it's interesting. But it's finally getting interesting, as I said like 5 times,
You know what, one anime that was interesting all the way through?
ReZero, because it's a wonderful anime.
No. Attack on Titans. I forgot how great that show was. I went back and watched it because the final season is happening, and yeah, I just forgot how great that was. I'm like it does seem like they rushing this last season, and I feel like season 2 it was that they kind of dragged it out a bit, but I think overall it's still great. It's just weird that we gone into spoiler along, so if you haven't seen the final season yet, probably want to stop listening right now, but try and be as vague as possible. But everyone calling Eren a martyr for what he did in the very first episode of season 3, and I don't see it like that. I saw it like as basically people just got caught in crossfire. He turned into a titan and killed some innocent civilians, and some of them was children and stuff. But these was the enemies. They come to find out that they actually on this small little island, and that this small little island, and then there's the whole rest of the world.
Oh.
And so, and all those problems have been caused because these other people, which are clearly based off the Nazis, and who pretty much discriminated them and pretty much taunt these people into Titans and sent them to there to kill these people. And like they even sent, because you find out that a few of the people there are the, some of the kids turned to the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Those was from the Nazi people, sending in spies to kill these people.
So that's why.
And so Eren went into the homeland and killed the people, like killed the king, where the king was even saying like how we lied to you all about these people. They actually are not bad, but we still gonna kill them. And then Eren turned into a Titan, killed the king, took out like the military, and of course, civilians was there because they having like a big festival celebration.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, but
man,
I just don't look at it like that.
It makes so much sense now why when I started watching Attack on Titans, because it was when the first season came out and it was really hype, and I watched it and it was so great. I immediately had to read the manga. I was pleasantly surprised to see that pretty much the anime is beat for beat with the manga. At least the first season was. So much, in fact, that I'm like, you know what? I need to stop reading the manga or else I'm not going to watch the anime because it's pretty much the same thing. But I did see that a leader in China, a Chinese military leader, had, I guess, caught wind of Attack on Titan, and politics is the same anywhere in the world, had said that it was obvious that in Attack on Titans that the characters were in Japan and that the people that were the enemies were from China. And I was so confused watching the first season as to how he would get that. I'm like, why would you assume that this big old place, they're the last place on the world that these people are at? But now you're saying that it turns out they're on an island and they're going to invade a larger continent. But yeah, the general, one of the generals in China actually tweeted that out on Twitter. He tweeted about it, saying that pretty much the mangaka who drew Attack on Titans should be held on war crimes because it was an attack plan on how Japan was going to invade China again and take over. And now that makes so much more sense. Being that I think the manga was in like I don't know, it was pretty far ahead of where the anime was at. So it was probably at season 3, and that's probably what happened is the guy in China was just like, oh my god, they're going to kill us all.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. People was saying he was a martyr, and I'm like, there's something going on with Eren, but like to me that's just a part of war. Alright, I guess we go into the topic.
To do a season 1 review of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. After that, we'll kind of have a discussion of our general thoughts on the anime, but just kind of go through our notes and what we thought of it. Based on the popular and action-packed manga created by Koyohiro Gotoge and published by Weekly Shonen Jump, the story of Demon Slayer revolves around a young boy named Tanjiro Carano and his sister Nezuko. After discovering his family has been butchered by a demon and Nezuko turned into one of these horrid creatures, Tanjiro vows to become a demon slayer to learn how to turn his sister back into a human. Developed by Ufotable, the anime studio drafted the series with stunning visuals, making it unarguably one of the best animes of the last few years. Known as the Taisho era, the anime takes place around the time of World War I in Japan. Returning from his trip to a village, down from the mountain, Tanjiro finds his whole family ruthlessly and viciously slaughtered by a demon, only leaving Nezuko left to slowly die. Unfortunately, Nezuko's blood mixed with this murderous monster's blood, transforming the young girl into a blood-hungry demon. Before Tanjiro could find any help, Tomioka, a demon slayer, shows up and threatens to slay Nezuko. The demon slayer spares her life after hearing Tanjiro's unyielding determination to save his sister and avenge his fallen family. Tomioka tells Tanjiro to seek out and to be trained by his former master, Urokodoki. Tanjiro undergoes intensive but heartwarming sword training with determination, becoming a demon slayer. The storyline for this action anime isn't anything new in anime or video games. Gaiohoro Gotoji uses his familiar storyline of a vengeful warrior slaying demons or monsters in the wake of their family's death. However, Demon Slayer never felt like it was ripping off any other anime or video games, despite its common storyline. What separates this anime story from others is the humanization of the characters, especially the villains, and the dense world building. Shonen manga and anime are known for their high energy level battles, and Koyohori Gotogi's Demon Slayer doesn't disappoint. The battle scenes in the anime can get bloody and quite violent at times. Nonetheless, the battles feature stunning sword-swinging, vibrant colors of pure astonishing animation. The power level moves in Demon Slayer are a seamless blend of both traditional and digital animation. Many of these power level moves are amplified by adding a visual effect of which reminds one of the crashing waves of traditional Japanese painting. As mentioned above, there is plenty of blood and violence, though not enough for parents of a younger audience to worry about. After Gotoji's initial draft failed to become a serialized manga due to his lack of comedy, serious tone, and dark story, an editor from Weekly Shonen Jump suggested writing an easy-to-understand theme and create bright characters to contrast the dark setting. These suggested changes makes one think if there weren't any changes, could this have been the next Attack on Titan? It could be seen as the editor's attempt to change the initial manga to appeal to a wider and mainstream audience. As good as Demon Slayer is, it isn't without its fault. The story does start with a slow burn. Viewers may expect action quickly since it is a shonen anime. However, the slow burn is worth the wait. Tanjiro befriends two other demon slayers, Zenitsu and Inosuke. Inosuke can be a little annoying, although he does become much calmer and laid back toward the end of the anime, leaving us with a good character development for him. Then there is Zenitsu. When facing immediate death, he's a great demon slayer. The rest of the time, Zenitsu is a crazy coward. The character designs aren't bad, just a little different. Until the viewer meets the Hashira, then you're left with god-awful character design. Weird makeup markings or scars is a poor substitute for great character design. The demons could be more monstrous design-wise. Despite these faults, which most of them are nitpicks, Demon Slayer is still one of the finest animes to come out in recent years. The manga has sold over 150 million copies, and the anime has been met with great critical acclaim. The movie, Demon Slayer, Kimetsunoyaiba the movie, Mugen Train, has become the highest grossing anime film of all time without even being released in North America or Europe. Demon Slayer. I love that anime. I love Studio Ufotable. I've loved them since they did Fate Zero. I watched that. That was amazing. And the Fate series is amazing. And they take all of our money with the Fate Grand Order mobile game. So I'm glad that they actually put it back, though, and make amazing art. Animation, anyway.
Yeah, the animation was excellent. I did notice, did some, rotoscoping where they would take a live action footage and draw over that, or at least a 3D thing, and then they draw over that and add in the details.
Yeah.
Which that's not a bad thing. Disney used to do that all the time. If you look at a lot of those stuff from the 60s and 70s, actually all of those was repurposed from other old Disney films.
It's a pretty cool technique. I think it lends more of a realism, more of a weight to a lot of things.
When it comes to anime, though, because anime has such a unique style and animation, it always seems to me off, though. So when I do see it, for me anyway, it's very noticeable. I know no one else is gonna see this. Did you notice it?
The only time it really was probably something I noticed was in the fight scene when they were in the mansion and they had the demon who had the drums, and it got to the point where they were in the spinning room.
Yeah, there was some in there.
Yeah, that was about the only time it really kind of.
In the false one where the demons would throw the balls when he first started attacking. And then the flashback scene where he was watching his father do the fire
Yeah.
dance or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was at first. They do pretty good about just at first being a little off, but then after that it blends together better.
Yeah.
I think it's just the switch over. I'm concerned because the movie, The Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, that is the next chapter of the manga. Would be your next season of the anime. North America is possibly in a lot of Europe. We're looking at getting that movie released. If it gets released here at all, it's still planned on it. We don't have a date that it's going to be released, except for it was released in Florida for a 1 week release in limited theaters, just so that the animation could be nominated for awards, so it could be considered a wide release. But otherwise, because of the ongoing pandemic, there's not really a plan to release it to North America yet, or at least a set date. We will be getting the second season of the anime later this year, so it's possible we're going to get the second season of the anime before we...
Which would be like the thaw chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, bullshit.
Which I hear that there's a lot of important things that happen during Mugen Train, so that's going to... really where
I
we...
wonder if, like, they made it into a movie, like the second season to a movie because of the pandemic, because, I mean, there would probably been more... Because it was like 26 episodes in the season, so that's 26. And usually TV shows about 20 to 30 minutes long, and 26, that like 3 movies right there.
Yeah.
You know, and so I would imagine they made second chapter into a movie because it was probably much more cost effective.
The movie came out before the pandemic. Was announced before the pandemic.
Oh.
Good speculation. It would be an interesting way to do things. I just wish, or I hope, that for one, there's a longer release, because usually anime movies, like even the Fate series, okay, that's widely popular. Even when it's released, it's only for like a day, usually a Thursday for 2 hours at a movie theater where we live. There's only one in St. Louis. It's not like it's even out for a whole weekend. It's not widely released. I'm hoping with this one it'll be more like a Miyazaki film, where maybe some smaller theater chains or just 2 smaller theaters, populace in general, it'll be widely released and maybe for a whole weekend instead of just, oh, here's a day for 2 hours, because this is a part of the main story. You can't just skip it and then go into the next part and go, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. Apparently there's big things that happen in this that are very important for the story going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, the second season poster has an image of what looks like Tanjiro and Zenitsu. It looked like they were fighting.
Yeah, the animation is excellent. Like you mentioned that the one with the drums, the demon with the drums, and the rooms was spinning and something like in the movie Inception. I thought that was excellent. The battle scenes are really great.
They are.
And, like, at first I was thrown off by the I couldn't think of the actual name, so I call it the power level moves. So when he does the
water breathing,
yeah, and like it looks like I said, like a traditional like water waves or something. I can't remember what I called it.
Japanese painting.
Yeah, Japanese paintings and the crashing waves of traditional Japanese paintings. And at first I kind of got was thrown off by that. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me pretty quickly. Each one of this battle scenes all had great action in it, and they didn't drag it out like more than they need to. Just there wasn't him just yelling, like how like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto used to be. They just sitting there yelling at each other, and then they finally fight for like 2 seconds, and then they go back at yelling at each other.
Which, speaking of that, because you brought up Naruto, we said the word flashback in this review. I want to make sure you understand the flashback made sense where it was, and it didn't drag on too long, and it had a point to the story that was very important to the story. It made sense where it was. It wasn't like Naruto where you're in the middle of a fight and then all of a sudden someone's like, but this one time this one time with this one place in this one area, this happened. Let me tell you my story. And it's going to take like 3 episodes. No, that didn't happen. It was a very nicely done little flavor to it, which also probably going to get into spoilers as well.
Well, season 1 been out for a while, so I mean.
Yeah. Just for warnings, though, just in case someone happens to be listening to us and they're like, hey, we're going to watch this anime. So far, this has been pretty spoiler free. Because you can see the 2 companions he has in the opening anyway, so you're expecting eventually he'll meet them. What did you think of the last villain he had? Were you expecting that kid to be the villain? You know, the brother, the spider main villain? Because at first you're thinking, oh, it's going to be the dad, right?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily the dad, but yeah, I didn't expect it. It was really him.
Yeah, until after to me, it was after they started fighting the dad, and I was like, oh, okay. Also, I've heard Blind Wave. I like Blind Wave. Watch Blind Wave. They complained a lot about the fact that all the demons got a redemption arc. Kinda.
Yeah.
Or at least he felt bad for them. I didn't necessarily think of it as they were redeemed. It just was showing that they were people, and I think it's gonna play into the plot a lot later, probably.
And this was one of those, like, very little, like, extremely nitpicking at, like, that would be a rip-off of Bleach, where, like, there was some demon slayers who just want to kill all demons, where, kind of like, how the Soul Reapers was there, not necessarily killing the Hollows, but helping them, like, cross over to the next word or whatever. And while like the Quincy just killed them,
yeah,
you know, and that's how I was kind of looking at it. And like even that one chick that like when you first meet her, like, oh, is she gonna be super nice and really, you know, really innocent type of person, and she like was trying to kill Tanjiro and Nezuko and the one demon slayer, Tamioki.
I couldn't pronounce his name worth a darn in the review, but Tamioki, I think, is how you say it.
Well, the guy who, the false demon slayer he meets, that sends him into his former master, like he was protecting them and stuff from the crazy chick.
Yeah, the butterfly Hashira who literally had that one demon and was like, how many people have you killed? Yeah. I'll just torture you. You'll regrow your limbs, right? I'll just gut you over and over again. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. After you go through all the pain that you've caused to others, then we can be friends. I'm like, oh God. Mm-hmm. Thanks, lady. So that's an interesting, really reading the part of the review you wrote about the history. I didn't realize it was supposed to be a darker manga. But you gotta imagine if in his original script for that part, if in the mangaka's mind, if he would have had her actually torturing the chick, you know, at that point and stuff, like it being a serious, like her start attacking her. She was almost at that point, and I can see where they kind of played it up a little bit for levity, but yeah, it could have got really dark.
Oh yeah, this whole, like, that's the whole, watching this whole anime, that's like, man, like, this could easily have been, you know, then Attack on Titan. It just seems like I put that how the editor said this need to be more comedy and it was too serious and dark of a story, and to me, like, nah, because Attack on Titan is one of the most popular animes of all time.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really need to be that, but because they did change it and it would appeal to a bigger audience. To me, like, I think it ruined the story for me, for what I believe is what they changed it to. And this kind of goes into like the character designs, like how the mask. At first, like, everyone was wearing a mask in the first few episodes. Then, like, we never seen those masks ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like that's like, oh, well, we're just gonna add this in here because kids will buy those masks. We make more profit off of that. But then they come realize, well, this is gonna be this is actually a good story. This is good drawings, and the manga is and stuff, and so we don't need to do that. So let's get rid of that.
Either
And
that,
then, like Nezuko's like mouthpiece.
yeah,
It said that she won't attack humans, so why even have that?
right.
All it is, because it'd be easy recognizable if people cosplay as her. It'd be so easy because like you just put on a short
Kimono.
put that mouthpiece, even if it's not the same color, put that mouthpiece on, give you some black hair, bam,
Yeah.
Nezuko.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like why I believe why he had that scar, Tanjiro has that scar, because as far as I remember, it never explained why he had that scar.
No, it doesn't, but they pay attention to it, so I want to say eventually it's going to play into the story.
When I looked it up on the internet, I couldn't find anything. To me, again, it goes back to
Marketing.
it's like it's easily recognizable.
It seemed to me in the anime was meaning something, but could be just marketing. Just that character, like Naruto had the marks on his face. Well, then that's obviously Naruto.
Yeah, I always thought that was dumb.
I had little fox marks.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for that kind of gimmicky stuff. So
like I said, down in their weird makeup, markings, and scar is a poor substitute for great character designs.
yeah, I liked them.
And to me, it just because you have those, I see that a lot in like more of the chick flicks, anime type of things where they all have like a teardrop tattoo under the eye or some dumb shit like that. So that's the only difference between that guy and this guy. What the hell? And then like I didn't put it in the review here. The colors of like people's hair, like that one chick had like
Pink and green hair.
yeah, pink and green.
The flower Hashira. I can see what you're saying with the Hashira. The Hashira are very, like, you get to them and they're like, their whole personality is their character design. Like, you look at them and you're immediately like, oh, okay, except for Giyu. Giyu's pretty tame.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, and I'll say that the master, he's pretty tame, even though he's got scarring, but they point that out.
Yeah, there's an actual reason why he had that scar, where everything else, there's absolutely no reason for them to have that.
Yeah.
Like almost everyone has some weird scar on them. And it's like, why? I mean...
I guess it almost, it's kind of like they're doing the opposite thing, where in a regular anime, you're like, oh, pick out the main character, and it's usually the one that has the most colorful or weird design. It's like by the time you get to the Hashira, it's like pick out the main characters. Well, it seems like it's the ones that have the least colorful design, like the butterfly Hashira. When you meet her thing is she's got butterfly clips in her hair, but she looks pretty normal character design wise. Her student looks pretty normal character design wise, and then sure enough, those are the ones you end up spending the most time with.
I just think it's a bad character design when they do all of that. And one, like, I actually kind of liked him, but the way he talked was the redhead guy in the Hashira.
Oh, the one that's going to be in the movie?
Yeah, like...
The flame Hashira?
Like, at least in the dub, he, like, had this, like, he almost yelling type of thing.
That's in the sub. He's just like, I'm the flame Hashira. Ha, 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 ha.
I was expecting, like, when I first saw him to be more like Captain Kuchiki, like this really laid back, almost like that other guy, that we can't... Yeah, Giyu. I thought it'd be more like him, but like Captain Kuchiki and laid back and deep voice type of thing, But now and I guess it could be just more how he probably like Captain Kuchiki come from a really rich royal family, so he's very proud, and so he kind of had this really, like, it's not loud annoying, but it's like he's very proud, almost too proud of himself, so he talks like that.
Yeah, very excitable. Like I said, it's almost like instead of like the butterfly or the insect, I guess she's not necessarily butterfly Hashira, it's the insect Hashira. Her character, cause you're like, she's, butterfly's her theme, but that's not her character. instead of letting the rest of those characters like be plain, or like Giyu, you don't know what Giyu's character is, really. You know,
Yeah.
he's still kind of a mystery as far as what his personality is exactly, but their clothing is more plain. The rest of them, you look at them and you're like, oh, I know what you're going to say before you say it.
Hmm.
Just like the flower Hashira being really attracted to all the dudes and getting super embarrassed by all of them. I'm like, I could tell that when I looked at you. Maybe, although I guess it's like you say when he comes back, I wonder if those would have been his original character designs if the editor hadn't been like, by the way, you need to make this more, audience friendly.
Yeah. More bright on, colorful characters.
Because those are very, like for us, we've seen a lot of anime. So we're like, man, this is really by the books. But if this was someone's like first Bleach, for instance, they'd be like, man, these characters are really unique. I haven't seen anything like it because it's their first anime.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, well, that's really cool.
Going back to like Attack on Titans, like everyone looks a little bit different. I mean, none of them look the same, yet they all look like they could be real people.
Yeah.
Like I seen where people did make a like 3D models of people from Attack on Titans, and like I saw that guy last week at Walmart. You know, like because they actually looked like people. So you don't need people with like. I mean, I know this is anime crochet bullshit, but like with spiky, colorful hair, you know,
Yeah.
and with all these weird markings and just weird shit. Like you don't need that.
It's fun to have that, but
it just and like I said, the demons I thought could have been a little bit more monstrous, like looking. Most of them look like normal human beings, but yet just with red eyes and maybe a horn or so, and some very small and pale skin or some dark skin type, and that was about it. I mean,
the two most monstrous ones you meet is the one in the proving grounds.
Yeah,
that was the one with all the hands over him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is the I forgot about that one. I was gonna say
the dad, the spiral dad.
Yep,
he was.
That was it.
But I just thought it would be a little bit more monster-ish looking. Speaking of the one from the training ground, or whatever it's called, I really like that story arc where, and this is going to spoilers, but Tanjiro's training, he has to cut with his sword the bolt on, and the two people who came out to be like they was ghosts of the Master's former students of his master, and they was helping train him, and Tanjiro ended up defeating the demon that killed them. So I really like that. When I find out that they was ghosts of this whole time, I kind of wish they went a little bit more with that. Like,
I think it really goes
kind
back
of like have like the Obi-Wan, like especially the redheaded guy, like coming back and giving Tanjiro points and stuff, and
or the girl being like, "Be really careful. He's really fast." Because that death scene was one of the most brutal. Like the way he killed her by ripping her in half by her legs. I was just like, oh god. Because I've seen that drawn out. There's an anime called Blood C Plus, and there's a scene in that where there's this giant rabbit-like creature, and these characters are like, oh, they're supposed to be kind of the same. They're supposed to be demon slayer or monster hunters, and they go up to it and they're like, oh, we can get this. And literally takes one chick and starts smashing her head against the ground, and it grabs her by her legs and starts to tear, and she starts screaming, and she's like, stop it, it hurts so much, and it really draws it out in that anime, because that anime is more for adults, so it could make that whole death scene. But that's all I could hear for that chick while I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh god, no, but she was such that's such a horrifying way to die. Just be ripped in half by your legs.
Yeah, like I said, like it just makes me wonder, like, if he just went with his more darker story. I feel like it may not have been as popular as it is now, but I can see it just being as popular as Attack on Titan, because
Well,
that's what the artist with Attack on Titan, like, they kept telling him, like, no, it's too dark, it's too violent, you need to tone it down. He's like, no, I'm not. I go somewhere else, and he finally ended up going to a place where they did, and Attack on Titan did end up becoming one of the most popular animes, mangas ever.
and as far as the studio would have picked it up, Ufotable probably still would have, because Fate is a pretty dark ass series. So it's not like Ufotable would have looked at it and been like, especially with seeing how popular Attack on Titan is, they probably would have been like, yeah, we'll throw all our money at it and still make it look beautiful and stuff, because they don't shy away from really dark, really dark and disturbing story elements in your story where you're like, why would you do that to a 6-year-old girl? Wow. Like, the only thing Studio Ufotable didn't draw out in the first anime series, which I don't know if they would have eventually, but the first time they did Fate Zero, in the manga it describes these two who murder people and they apparently keep kids alive by using magic and do all this torturous stuff on them. Like, one was they made a kid into a piano organ and they play his organs, make him scream. They didn't actually draw that out in the anime, because that would have been pretty intense. But I don't know if they wouldn't have. They definitely let you know that was pretty much what was going on.
Yeah, and then like they say, the lack of comedy, of course. What's the two people's name?
Zenitsu and Inosuke.
Inosuke.
Zenitsu and Inosuke.
Yeah, Inosuke, like, because of him just being loud and stuff, like, fight me, come on. Like, I kind of, at first, I thought that was annoying, but, like, he does, like, after he is defeated by the dad spider, he becomes a lot more calm and wants to, because he didn't want to disappoint anyone, and he kept fighting to the very end until he couldn't.
Yeah, the characters are definitely great, like you said
I
earlier.
actually like in this Kosuke, what his name was, his character design with the board on his head and stuff, and the two swords and stuff. Like, I thought his character design was actually kind of interesting until he took off the mask and it looks like a chick, and I was like, okay, why? I mean,
I love that so much, but I'm a chick, and he might have known. He was like, maybe that's what the mangaka was thinking when they're like, try to hit as wide of an audience as he can. He probably sat there and studied some yaoi and stuff for chicks, and was like, I'm not going to draw my characters weird and really long-armed, but let me get some pretty boys in there, because that was... I still love that interaction between him and Tanjiro's like, I'll punch you, but put your mask back on. You're too pretty.
And the other guy,
Zenitsu.
I don't like him at all.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. When you're like annoying, I'm like, that's usually what people say about Zenitsu.
I guess I could wrote a little bit better on.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, to me, it just he's way more annoying. Other than when he's sleeping, I guess that's when he becomes a badass. But all the rest of the time, it's just him just yelling and being crazy and crying all the time, and it's like, dude, just shut up.
I don't know. I liked him.
And
of course, I'm pretty easily entertained. I think that comes down to taste, because I find comedy movies to be pretty entertaining 90% of the time, and you don't necessarily like all comedy, correct?
Yeah.
I think they're pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And most of the time I'm like, I can watch this guy fart into a cake all day. That's hilarious.
Yeah. To me, it just goes back to the whole, the editor wanting more comedy into it and stuff, and so the artist made those two comedy relief characters, and to me, I don't know, I just feel like what would release the Snyder cut, like I want to know what the artist's original vision was.
Now there is hope though, because maybe Studio Ufotable will do that. Maybe they're like, hey man, slide us your real ideas for this, and we'll start putting them in the story.
Well, I'm thinking once we finally get to see the movie, I think we eventually will start getting more dark on in the anime and stuff, because like I feel like they starting to realize that we don't need to do this stuff to appeal to a wider audience. At least I hope the editors and the publisher will look at it like that. I
Yeah.
haven't read the manga, so I don't know if it is darker or not.
I'm gonna say with the way that the last few episodes were, because there was a little bit of comedy relief in there, and other than the fact that it was a pretty slow, that turned back into a slow burn because that was more of a training montage. Anyway, they kind of calmed down on the a lot of the humor. Zenitsu still had his moments, but otherwise they're taking it a lot seriouser, especially that last episode where you get to Mugen Train.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny because and Osuke, he runs up to it and he's like thinking it's a demon. He's like, it's a demon in the forest, and the
Tanjiro.
orange guy, he's like, no, like this is a crane, and yeah, then Tanjiro like, no, it's he might not it might not be a demon.
It's
it
a
might
good
be,
spirit.
Yeah, it's a guardian of the. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because it went with the story, because they both was from the mountains where they never saw anything like this. They were still stuck in the old Japan, where the orange guy is from the city, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so he's seen this, and he's a little bit more up to date on the stuff. And so I thought that it was fitting to the story.
I also like how the story ended with Muzan getting all the other demons together that were a part of the upper 12 moon. Was that the 12 moons? The upper 12 moons, and he killed everyone? Or no, I guess they were the lower moons.
Yeah, they was the lower moons.
Yeah, and he literally killed everyone except for that one guy who's on the train. Anyway, when
I feel like we've been mostly talking about the negative stuff. Like I said, the story was great, and like other than like him being a samurai warrior type person fighting demons, like yeah, that's like every other anime out there or video game, like Bleach, it's a samurai warrior guy fighting a demon like thing called the Hollows, but that's other than that, there was nothing it didn't rip off anything. I mean, of course they had the and it didn't even have like a Super Saiyan part, did it?
no,
Like, where he like about to be killed at the last minute, and he all of a sudden turned into a Super Saiyan.
No.
There was nothing like that, was there?
No, because the final fight, he had that flashback and he remembered the fire breathing, but at the same time, his sister decided she would actually. Nezuko tried to do stuff, they just kept telling Nezuko she couldn't. Which made sense, though, for him. That was his sister. That's his whole reason for living, so he'd freak out and be like, no, Nezuko, you can't fight, until they. I guess he finally let her fight some.
Yeah.
He was being a protective older brother, but that during that scene where she was stuck, she helped him fight. So it really wasn't like a Super Saiyan. All of a sudden they got to power up. It was
Them working together.
and he didn't even win. So yeah, it wasn't a Super Saiyan power up, because most of the time they do that and they'd be like, okay, this is a super awesome move, and I'm gonna, I'll be exhausted from it, but I'll win. And he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's just really lucky that his Giyu showed up, or else they would have all been dead.
Yeah, like I said, unlike like Black Clover took elements from like Bleach and mix it with elements from Fairy Tail, that's the only reason why I believe why it was popular, because it gave you all the bullshit cliches of anime into one package. My opinion is that Demon Slayer is a way better anime than what Black Clover ever will be, simply based off these the fall seasons of each one, because this Demon Slayer season 1 was way better than what Black Clover season 1 was.
Or Fairy Tail season 1. Or really any, Naruto season 1 was pretty good, but it still had way too many flashbacks. So really, this is one of the best, like you said, one of the best animes come out in years. And if I hadn't known about the mangaka's Gotoji's original plans for this to be a darker manga and anime, I wouldn't be slightly disappointed, not in the anime itself, but just disappointed in the editor for telling him to do something different. Because it's like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is dark, but that's a really popular anime as well. You can't tell somebody, you can't just, it's just corporations. Corporations do that. Whatever's going to make the most money. But if I hadn't known that happened, it's not like you sit there and you watch this anime and it's like Black Clover or something where you're waiting for something to happen. You're like, oh, are you going to surprise me and do something unique? And it never happens. This is unique. I wouldn't be wondering how much better it would be if I didn't know that it could have been.
Like you saying that even with that, it was still good.
Yeah.
Like even knowing that could have been, that it may have been, that it was still really good.
It's still really good. It's one of those things where, especially now that the manga is to an end, and we haven't seen the rest of it to see if the editor ever let off in the mangaka and he got to do what he wanted to. Gotoji got to do what he wanted to. I just really, it's one of those things where you hear about your favorite artist or musician or something and them having a song you love to death and then being like, but originally I wanted to do this with it. And you're like, oh, really? You know, you're just curious to see what it would have been because you love what it is so much. You want to see what the difference is. It's not really like Snyder's Justice League where you're sitting there and you're like, wow, this is trash. I want to know what the other thing is. It's good. It's really good on its own.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Zack Snyder, but it's alright. You can take all of it.
I can. That's why I talk so fast, Michael. I'm like, no, I can't take a breath. I have to get all of this out before Michael can say another word.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Demon Slayer on yet, I highly recommend it. Like I said, like most of the anime coming out nowadays, like I haven't really enjoyed all that much. It just seems like after like Sword Art Online and Attack on Titan came out, everything was either a rip off of that or those two, or just pure trash, or a rip off of both Bleach and Fairy Tail,
or really, really, really niche. Because I'll say JoJo's isn't trash and Fate's not trash, but those are very.
JoJo came out before.
Yeah, that's true. JoJo did, and technically Fate did as well, because Fate was first a light novel in the '90s. So.
Yeah, but I was saying like.
Touche. I guess I didn't really think about that part of it.
2013 when Sword Art Online and about time Attack on Titan came out.
Yeah. Sword Art came out first. I think. Yeah, Sword Art came out first.
And like everything after that, it was them stuck in some other world, and if they die there, they die or whatever, or they die and then go into this other world. Like I keep seeing people on Facebook, it's like, oh well, you know, blah blah blah, it's way better than Sword Art Online. I'm like, that anime would never fucking been made if it wasn't for Sword Art Online, because no one gave a shit about that genre.
Yeah, because the only one that was around that pretty much did something like that, other than people argue that might falsely, I don't know, I don't know when Inuyasha came out, but Inuyasha was technically a girl getting transferred to another world, but Dot Hack.
Yeah.
Dot Hack just kind of dragged on. I don't even
remember
the plot.
That was more psychological, and there was like no action to it anyway.
Yeah.
Or anything like that, but...
I was going to say, Overlord's good, but Overlord is kind of in the same genre as Sword Art Online. Pretty much the same. But it does its own unique thing with it. ReZero, same thing. It's kind of that it's an isekai, but it's also good. Tanya, the evil, is pretty fantastic. But would probably be for me. I don't know if Michael would like it because it's a little bit satirical. Really dark satirical, but satirical nonetheless. But no, like you say, it hasn't been really an anime. Definitely not an anime for a wide array of audience.
And like so many things was rip off of Attack on Titan. Everyone tried to do that dark, you know, apocalyptic kind of thing where
Mm-hmm.
you're getting tagged by giant monsters and stuff. I just, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Why?
go watch Demon Slayer, and hopefully the movie will come out soon here, and we can go watch it. And
And then we'll
kinda,
have a full review on that. Maybe HBO, being that HBO's picking up stuff when others won't. Maybe if anything, if theaters or a wide theater. What I would hope would happen is that along with the theatrical release, a lot of anime movies can start being released onto streaming services. Even if you had to pay a premium to watch them on a streaming service, I would still like to see that because just sometimes it's not very feasible if you live in a small community or a small town.
and I don't understand why it's still like that. Cause I've been watching some anime way back in the day that was just like that, where we had to leave like on a Tuesday to go watch in St. Louis, and like that was back in middle school. Why, with how popular anime has gotten, why can't it be everywhere? I mean, like
Yeah,
why? I don't know. It just seems,
even just for a weekend release, but still.
man. I just don't understand that. I mean, is that something because of Japanese side of things or America? I mean,
I guess Viz is the people who are doing the release of it. I don't know if maybe there's.
probably damn American because
Yeah.
because all this stuff, the um movie theater industry is still owned by a bunch of old men that don't know anything about anime and don't give a shit about anime, and like, nah, we don't want to show that shit in our movie theaters.
Yeah, they'll take away from this random chick flick. We don't want to do that.
Mm,
That only 10 people show up for. I think maybe if people started writing to movie theaters and were like, hey, I want you to show this anime, that might just be it. The anime community is so. Well, we're wider. We're a larger community we've ever been before, but we're also still very a niche community. And we're also still very much the people who, well, we can catch it online eventually. And a lot of anime movies aren't necessarily central to the plot. This is. This needs to be seen.
yeah.
Speaking of things that need to be seen, I have a story we can talk about in the news.
Let's go to the news.
So, something that everyone needs to go check out because it's really heartwarming and sad and touching. This year for the Golden Globes, they finally had a valid reason to be watched because most of the time, skip out in the Golden Globes Awards. It's just a bunch of Hollywood bullcrap. But the Academy finally acknowledged the talent of the late Chadwick Boseman by awarding him posthumously with a Golden Globe Award. Chadwick's wife, Taylor Simone Ludward, accepted the award on his behalf. Her speech was both beautiful and moving, and I strongly encourage anyone who hasn't heard it yet to listen to her. She also had a beautiful speech on behalf of her husband when he received the Actor Tribute Award issued by Gotham Independent Film Awards earlier this year.
And that's not Batman to Gotham, so everyone knows. When I first read that line, I'm like, Gotham, like, oh, the independent. Okay, yeah, all right.
I mean, it would be in line. He was such a wonderful actor that I'm sure even DC would applaud him. But that's what kind of makes me sick about the Golden Globe, though, is they didn't give him any awards before. It's just like, why? He was talented. He was a wonderful human. He played in a lot of.
Because at the time, his new recent movies was superheroes movie.
Yeah.
And since then, it has been other ones like I haven't seen the one that he got a Globe Award for but the I think it's like second to the last one he was in was called like the the Brothers Blood, and he was about was it four of them? I think four Vietnam soldiers, and they much older now, Vietnam veterans going back because Chadwick was the squad lieutenant of one of them, the captain of one of them, and he sacrificed himself so that they can escape. And another thing was that they found treasure and they buried it somewhere, and that's where he died at. And so he was only really in it through like flashbacks and stuff. But it was a Spike Lee movie, and it was really great. And it's on Netflix. It was ended up being released on Netflix.
Nice.
I highly recommend watching that one. Plus, it's Spike Lee, so happy to see Spike Lee actually being a director again. So bitching about Quentin Tarantino using the N word and stuff. It's like, dude, just make your own movie. You're a great director. Just make your own movie.
Yeah. And then be like, suck it.
But yeah, that's excellent that Chadwick Boseman finally got something.
Yeah. I mean, really, because I read the transcript of the speech, and I imagine watching it would have really tore me up. But Gina Carano has been fired from Lucasfilms after a recent post on Twitter that has since been deleted by the actor. Lucas has found the remarks to be anti-Semitic. Tweet was comparing the victims of racism in Germany to the current political climate where the government can censor your political beliefs at times. Gina Carano...
Not necessarily the government will censor it. It's more that the SJWs and the feminists and all of them will censor or cancel you.
Right, but it was saying that because what the tweet pretty much read was that the government in Nazi Germany, it wasn't just that straight up soldiers first appeared in towns and started just taking Jewish people. It was that the government convinced the people.
Yeah, the naval.
Yeah.
The people that the navals are bad.
Yeah, and to turn
navals.
Their Jewish people in. So then it goes on to say, how's that any different from censoring political beliefs? That kind of leads to you thinking that they're talking about government issues. Because then later she says it's the mob that's censoring her, but the way that tweet reads, that apparently she retweeted, it wasn't a tweet that she actually wrote, it was a tweet that she retweeted, was implying that government censorship, which any political party claims the other party is trying to squash them all the time. But since being fired, Gina Carano is now set to develop, produce, and star in a new film after her departure from Lucasfilms.
Yeah, I just think it was so stupid of her being fired on, because Pedro, the guy who played the Mandalorian, said the exact same thing, but it was a little bit different. It was him, really more like him saying, comparing, which came out to be wrong. Like he did a couple of one, but the main one was that this is America under Trump, and it showed a bunch of kids in cages and stuff. And this is Nazi Germany, and of course, a bunch of Jews in cages, and find out that photo wasn't from America. It was from some foreign country. But
it's an interesting topic because it used to be public figures are held to different standards than private citizens. Used to be. Private citizens now, pretty much anything you put out into the public sphere, because we all have a public face and a public presence, is held to scrutiny. In my opinion, Disney firing her is within their rights, like it would be if they fired Pablo or anyone, because that's their right to as a corporation. If they don't like you, they don't have to keep you on.
True, that is true. But the fact that Pedro did do it as well, did cut quite a few times, comparing, things to Jews and the Nazis and the Holocaust. So I mean, it kind of goes back to
it is pretty much the
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing. Like he got fired on, which actually this is breaking news. Amber Heard has been fired from Aquaman, that shitty movie. But
hey, it has a sexy main character. That's all we care about as women.
Well, now you're gonna have a sexy female character because they're getting Khaleesi in it.
Yeah, we will. That'll be really nice.
So now I actually will watch it. But yeah, like I always complained about how it was not right of Johnny Depp to be fired on, and Hall not, because more and more time. And actually, she might be facing jail time now because of the fact that she falsely claimed and actually found out she was being the one that she was abusing him. And so like it goes back to that. If one person is being fired because like I'm sure Johnny Depp did at times abuse someone. That's, I mean, come on, he's been abuser before, so it makes right. But the fact that she keeps coming out and saying like, oh, he abused me, and then she shows evidence that actually she was the one that abusing him, he got fired for it. I mean, she didn't, but now she finally is being fired. But yeah, like Pablo isn't the only Lucasfilm or Star Wars actor who has said very controversial things. Mark Hamill said Trump's kids should be assassinated. I mean, it's like, why? Because you don't like the dad?
Yeah.
That'd be no different from me saying that Mark Hamill kids should be assassinated. Why? Like, you know?
I guess the difference the only difference is that he's a public figure. You're not. You can say whatever you want to, as long as you don't reasonably act on it.
But he is saying whatever he wants to. I mean, he didn't get fired from Star Wars.
And
he didn't get fired from the Mandalorian. You know, he's still Luke Skywalker. He didn't get nothing out where Gina did.
Right.
You know, like everyone else is doing, you know, exact same thing what Gina did. It just the difference is that Mark Hamill is a Democrat, Pablo is a Democrat, and all the other people are Democrats. Gina is a Republican.
And they're more popular, therefore, because it's the fan outrage that drives it, and it's the fact that she has recently become very much ousted as a Republican, and then there's a lot of fans who I guess are not Republicans, so those are the ones who are complaining to Lucasfilm to get her fired, and that...
But they're not fans, that's the problem. They don't care. They not really watching The Mandalorian. They just don't like her because she's a Republican.
And that's their opinion.
I mean,
and that's the problem with being any kind of public figure is for a private citizen. But now, you could still... That's why you're not supposed to talk about politics at work and so on and so forth. It's not technically at work, but when you're a public figure, when are you not at work? You know?
Yeah.
When is that line drawn? You can't draw a line there, because if I was at my job and I had somebody come in and they were strictly Democrat and I was like, Joe Biden's a ham sandwich, and they got very offended by me calling him a ham sandwich, I guess there's a number of things you could draw from that sentence that's probably not. I might be kind of cannibalistic and think that he might look good between two pieces of bread. That might be what I'm saying, but if they draw something different from that and go up to my boss and say, hey, she's being discriminatory, I could be fired. That's just kind of the risk you make. Now, if I was outside my house and I said to somebody walking down the street, hey, Joe Biden's a ham sandwich, they couldn't tell the police to come arrest me for that. That would be against my rights. As a citizen, it's just when you work in the public at all, you can't, you gotta watch what you say, pretty much. Or you can have your opinion, in every right, she has her opinion to say whatever she wants to or believe whatever she wants to. It's just gonna come back to you one way or another, be it good or bad.
Yeah, but it still goes back to the whole Johnny Depp and Amber thing, that you can't allow other people to do it, then not allow this person to do it, just because majority of people from Hollywood is more liberal. I mean, that's, to me, that's not right.
It's not right, but that is, there again, it's a corporation's decision. With Johnny Depp and Amber, it's a little different, because in that, it's not just that, you know, one's accusing the other of being a racist, it's that they're getting physically harmed and abused, and you have people saying, oh, because she's a girl, she can't hurt him. We talk all the time about how guys should be more emotional and they should be able to rely on everyone else, kind of like the typical female relies on the rest of the female group to support her. We try to convince dudes it's okay to do the same thing, but then as soon as the guy's like, yeah, my wife is being really abusive to me, we're like, oh, it can't happen, you're lying. That's the problem with Johnny Depp. It's not just that in Amber, the unfair treatment, because I was the same way. That at first I'm like, she's a chick, she can't do that. Read in more into it. It's especially when people, it gets so polarized that it's either black or white. Either Johnny Depp, like, I appreciate your viewpoint because you said he probably, there's evidence that he probably was abusive. People get so polarized on it that Johnny Depp, because of how he is now, he's a great person, or he does a lot of charitable things, there's no way he could be that. It becomes so polarized. I just, for the Gina Carano, I mean, she's going on, she's making her own film now. Independent film is probably might be better for her career. Who knows? Going forward, it's not that she's been barred from ever being in a film again, you know. And even if she was, that's still.
Well, yeah, but not yes and no at the same time. Being barred from ever being in a film again, because like I said, majority of Hollywood is liberal.
Yeah.
And you got Disney, the biggest, Hollywood entertainment company out there. They can pull the strings and make it where she won't work in
Hollywood again.
Yeah.
I guess the whole thing is, though,
the whole new film is an independent film.
Yeah,
and actually, who producing it is actually not really a film company.
Yeah, it's a Republican, conservative movement guy. I believe.
Yeah, he's a lord on.
Okay.
Who,
yeah.
Started making YouTube videos because YouTube don't make money. Fucking shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Lawyers make YouTube videos. It's pretty bad, but
unless you this fucking YouTube channel, you can't get shit.
It's because you got me as co-host, Michael. I'm a bad luck charm. They didn't tell you that.
We don't have good enough thumbnails, I guess.
That's probably it. We don't have gripping titles. They're like, guess what Gabby did this week? You won't believe that she's now ...
Yeah.
Now someone who vehemently agrees with people being able to be fired. I guess the point where it would become inhumane is if people started dogging her to the point where she couldn't even go work at Walmart anymore. If she can't make a living for herself.
I mean, even if she's not posting something political on Twitter, like there's one where she's like, "Oh, it's a good morning. I love you all," and like the second comment on there was like, "How can it be a good morning? My wife left me 7 years, left me for another man. Fuck you, Gina."
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
like, how's that whole problem? Why is that like? She didn't tell your wife to leave you. Like, that's not her problem.
Now I will say,
and there has been a lot of, like, this is just someone, a YouTuber going and shown how, like, after a certain thing happened with Gina, like, it just seems like more and more people start attacking her on social media, even if it, like I said, even if it had nothing to do with political things or anything, and people was attacking her more and more. And like in her interview, right when she got fired, she had an interview with the people that helping her make this new film, and they posted a video on like Twitter or something. Like one of the comments was, and this was like at the very top too, said like, it's like, "I can't believe they allow her to speak. We need to make a place for people like her that we can put her in, torture her, and forget about them, where we can forget about them." Like, here these people are sitting there calling people like Gina and many other people Nazis, yet here they're saying we need to put these people in these places and torture them and and forget about them. Like, yeah, people have made those things. It was called Dachau concentration camps. And here you people telling them that they are the Nazis when you are the Nazis, Like,
yeah.
It's
when you're anti-Semitic, when you tell somebody same thing that Nazis did, and it's just one step away from being like, oh, it's not too bad to segregate us again. Just one step away from that kind of... It comes back to tolerance, and old tolerance versus new tolerance. Old tolerance was, you can say, kind of like what you and I do. I can say I think it was well within Lucasfilm's right to fire her, and you let me say that because you're tolerating my opinion. You don't agree at all with my opinion, and same thing with you. You have the opinion that it was really wrong, and or at the very least that Pablo should have been fired as well. And I can say, yeah, you have your opinion. That's fine. I don't have to agree with it, but I can still say, well, you have the right to say what you want to say. I had the right to say what I want to say. People get to this point where everything has to be so, it's either PC, whether that you totally agree with what someone's saying, or you're totally intolerable and you're just the worst person ever. You don't have to agree with someone saying. The point is, you allow them to say it to a point, though, because then it becomes a slippery slope of, like, pedophiles. We all agree pedophiles are disgusting people. So if someone's like, hey, there's a young child, I want to do horrible, awful things to them, probably someone who says that should be investigated. That's not a normal thing someone should say. As a society, we agree on that. It's kind of the moral standing of our society is what do we think and don't think should be allowed. I think what she retweeted about the Jewish people being tortured, well, she didn't really say Jewish people being tortured, just pointing out historically that is how any government starts to control people is by fear-mongering. It probably would have been better just to say that historically any government is able to discriminate by fear-mongering. Would have been an okay enough tweet.
Or making hate speech against them and stuff. Like I said, like these people been doing that to Gina for so long, and
they have. It's just like I said, it goes to me still in my mind of a public figure. The problem is now, where is that line drawn from who's a public figure and who isn't? Because it's more and more we're all public figures now. You know, it's getting to the point where if I say something on this podcast and let's say somebody decides they don't like it and they want to go back, find out where I work, and they go back to where I work and they show my boss that and say, I don't like what she said, I won't go to your company anymore, and they decide to fire me, well, they can. I said it, I put it in public. That's kind of the problem. Once you say something publicly, you can be held responsible for that. There's nothing in any government in the world that says that an employer can't fire their employee because they feel like it. You usually sign something when you get hired that says they can fire you at any time, at any point, if they feel like it.
But it's nothing about like how they can't discriminate against you. Like they can't fire you because of some discrimination.
Right, but they could just fire you because...
I mean, you can't really fire her because she was a Republican.
No, but you can fire her because she was 5 minutes late to a meeting that one time.
But she wasn't.
I'm sure someone was late sometime at some point.
But Gina wasn't.
No, but they're firing her based off of racism, and that's the thing, is you can fire somebody because they've been discriminatory, and you don't want your public face connected with someone who's considered bad for publicity. And that's legal enough because it's hurting the brand.
It goes back to, like, I meant to tell you, like, because in the article we got this from, it said, fans are not happy with Gina. Those are not fans. They are just the crazy feminist, social justice warrior, PC Twitter mob that Gina was talking about in that tweet.
But
and so it's not like, oh, that the fans don't like Gina. It's these people that once again I said before, do not care about Star Wars, do not care about comic books or superheroes and stuff, but yet here they are, ruin it for everyone else who are a fan. And there's more fans out there who love Gina than there is these crazy people.
Then those fans weren't vocal enough in Disney's opinion, because if they were
vocal enough when Mandalorian was the highest viewed TV show of all time.
But to Disney, that's not because of Gina. That's because of Pablo, in their opinion. It's not because of her. That's the thing, is if there was enough of a Twitter backlash that said...
Well, they only think that is because Pablo is a liberal. I mean, that's where...
Possibly. And that's the thing, though. In Disney's mindset, catering to a liberal audience is better for their brand recognition than it is to cater to a Republican audience.
And it has been shown after firing Gina that there has been a significant drop in Disney Plus subscribers, and
Well, then that'll be something Disney will probably regret, because in the end of the day, money's what talks.
yeah,
And money is what is like if Gina goes out and she makes this movie and it becomes the best selling movie that's ever been done for an independent film. That speaks, and that will be her brand recognition. But for a company, any company, their brand has a public face, even if it's just a cashier. And if that cashier is someone they don't like, they fire them. That because it's bad in their opinion for their brand to be associated with that
and
kind
now
of
it
person.
become worse because they did this, though.
And then they'll learn from it.
No, they won't. That's
Well,
the problem.
Then if
Is
they
that
don't,
haven't been learned from it. I mean,
if they
this
don't,
whole podcast was built pretty much because we hated the Last Jedi,
Yeah.
you know, and the Disney Star Wars and so many YouTubers and stuff like that. And actually, if you go to Star Wars YouTube channel, everything is being like, all the comments is all like, why did you fire Gina? Fuck Disney, fuck Lucasfilm, blah blah blah. You know, all this negative, nothing good. It all been disliked. You know, the thumb down, like really bad, and like where there's like 20,000 dislike and 2 likes.
and then
Okay, maybe 200 likes, and then like even like on I think we was be mentioning it in a little bit. Yeah, the Bad Bunch. When the Bad Bunch came out in the last season, the
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, a lot of people loved that episodes. And then when it was announced that they was getting a TV series, people loved it. But now after the whole thing with Gina, when they put out the official trailer, which actually looked pretty badass, I loved it. Downvote 2,000, if not more, you know, downvote 200 likes, you know, upvote.
Then theoretically,
And every single YouTube, Star Wars YouTube video that has been released since the firing of
Carano.
yeah, it's been all like that. All the comics, all negative. Even on the Bad Bunch, where, like I said, people originally loved it. On all the social media stuff, whether it's Disney Plus or Disney's thing, or Lucasfilm social media, or Star Wars social media, all negative, all downvotes.
Then
Right.
theoretically, in a free market system, or a system where a company cares more about their profit than consumers' thoughts or their environment or anything else, either Disney will learn and they'll turn around, or they'll crash and burn. Universal and HBO Max will take over. 'Cause that's how, in a free
that's the
market
whole-
system, people get punished, is that they make a decision and Universal and HBO watch and they see this backlash and they say, well, we're not going to do that then. And that's how things like this get sorted out. Theoretically, in a free market system, that's how it's supposed to work.
Perfect word. Disney will listen, or Lucasfilm will listen.
And they'll go
But
under.
Disney is just so powerful and so big. I don't think it will do much.
Well, then it will never change, because then majority rules. Either they lose so much money they can't stay afloat anymore because people are so sick of their property and what they do and their values.
Yeah, but Disney owns so many other things.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
they didn't need Star Wars to become the highest, grossing company. They didn't need Marvel. I mean, but those things made them even more.
because they have the money to
powerful.
buy them. But then if you have people switch over and say, I'm going to cancel Disney and go to HBO, then eventually HBO, and say, well, I don't want to go to Star Wars Land anymore in Disney because it sucks. I don't want to support what Disney does with Star Wars. It sucks. I'll go to Universal, though. Universal has a cool thing going on. That's how the tides switch. Although Harry Potter's problematic anymore with their writer saying the stuff she does. Which is actually highly offensive, what she says.
Yeah.
about the LGBTQ community. I guess what bugs me the most, and that supposedly she offended the LGBTQ community, but I don't think she really
Actually,
offended them because I don't think they said shit.
no, actually, she when it happened, Lucasfilm or Disney came out and said, "Hey, you need to apologize to him." And she's like, "In those bullshit political apologies." And, she's like, "Well, how about I just call him up and sit down with him and talk to him?" So she called up the whoever from the community, and they talked and they was like, "We don't actually have a problem with you at all."
Yeah.
And they even called the community, even called the heads of that community, whoever it is, called Disney, Lucasfilm, what else, was like, "Hey, please don't fire on Gina. You know, we don't have nothing against them."
Yeah.
It was just the Twitter mob, the crazy SJWs, you know, that are having a problem. It's like at school, like we have a substitute teacher and they do name call, and then they like Johnny Belushi, um, Michelle Firethal, Michelle, my last name, um, and like no, it's Michael, and like someone else will say that before I even get a chance to say, like, no, it's Michael, his name is Michael, not Michelle, it's Michael. I'm like, dude, it's a substitute teacher. I don't know why they can't fucking read. I mean, that's probably why they fucking is a substitute teacher, not an actual teacher. But it's like who fucking cares? Like, we gonna give him this one day, and I never gonna probably see him again. You know,
Yeah.
like who cares? Like, it's just like more people that has nothing to do with it speaks up for other people, and it's like, don't speak up when you don't know anything about it or
Right.
whatever. You know, that's
It
how I
is.
look at it.
Well, the
And
LGBTQ community, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. They are some of the nicest, most loving people. Because they honestly have people that are like, oh, church leaders who are like, you guys should go burn in hell. And vehemently hate their guts. And they're nice about it. I don't see them on Twitter being like, oh, you need to cancel this person because of some reason. They're generally really open and loving. And when they have a problem with someone, they're like, well, they're not seeing our side of things. This is, why we do this. We don't want to be discriminated against. Because it used to be, if you were gay and your employer found out about it, they could fire you. That was in their rights. That's considered discriminatory now. It's really hard to prove. That's why you got fired. But anyway, that again, I still go back to the fact that Lucasfilms, it's in their right to fire somebody. If they don't like them, they can fire them. Now, are they going to rue it? Yeah, probably, in my opinion, they will if it makes enough of the fan base upset that they stop supporting Disney and they start supporting other services because they like them better and they feel like Disney's stupid because of what they've done. Then that's where you get your retribution from. And for her personally, if she makes a movie and it's good, I just think people use the whole Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, which is a horrible thing, and they like to call upon it so readily. It is kind of stupid for people to do that. Now, whether or not Disney should have fired her, or they should have been like, listen, we want you, like a substitute teacher, been like, write on the board 100 times. It's not right to compare people's minor discomforts with a tragedy in history a million times on Twitter. That might be more reasonable than just being like, oh yeah, we're gonna fire you, but still people probably shouldn't compare anything to things that Jews suffered under Nazi Germany. It's just like people being like, oh, my low paying job's like slavery. It's not. It's really not. So I understand them being upset with her. It does play into public with the Twitter, and it's where do we draw a line as a nation going forward on what's considered publicly safe to say, what's not. Where does as a private citizen, are you considered to be just as liable as someone who is a movie star anymore? That's where my problem comes in, is I don't know where people draw the line anymore and what will be considered, because it's like defamation. As a private citizen, if someone goes out of their way and you wake up in the morning and someone says, I hate you, I hope that you go and burn in hell and stuff, repeatedly and you feel like your life might be in danger, as a private citizen, you can say, hey, this is wrong, or if someone makes up some horrific lie about you being racist or something like that, you as a private citizen can see it, say, well, this is defamation. They can't be saying this is defamation. Pretty sure it's defamation. They can't, this is a lie. This is hurting me as a person. A public figure can't say that. People can say whatever they want about a public figure, and it's fine because that's assumed that they take that responsibility when they become a public figure. Just be a shame if that started happening to anyone, because technically we all live our lives publicly now.
Well, I mean, I like Bill Maher, because he kind of talked a little bit about Gina and stuff and the cancel culture. He said, cancel culture come to a neighborhood near you. He's like, it's gonna start out with these actors, and he's like, I didn't even heard of Gina before today, and so here's this someone who, and she's not that well known. I mean, I never seen really any movies before The Mandalorian. I didn't really know who she was before The Mandalorian, so it's not like she's a big Hollywood person like Pablo. He's well known. He's been in Game of Thrones and many other well known big TV shows and movies and stuff, and like Mark Hamill. I mean, there you go. But yeah, and she's being canceled, and many other smaller actors, or that's haven't got that much spotlight, are being canceled and stuff, and so it just gonna go down and down till it get to the people.
I mean, it's already a thing that a lot of college students face when they get out of college and they put out their application at different jobs, that your employer can go through your Facebook.
Yeah.
And a lot of people...
That's why you get into fake name.
Yeah. That's why you have an alias when you use your Facebook. But people will go through your Twitter and Facebook, and they will decide whether they want to hire you or not based off of whether or not, I guess in that point, they can judge you as discriminatory or a risk for their public face of their company. So it is kind of already like that. It just... We're seeing it. It's not so much cancel culture as far as you don't have to have a bunch of people on Twitter saying that you should be fired, as much as your employer makes that decision based off of whether or not they like you.
And also, we didn't put it in here, but actually Lucasfilm or Disney didn't tell Gina she was fired.
Oh yeah, I meant to put that part in there, because
she found out on, just like all the rest of us did, on Twitter, that all the news headlines and stuff. Gina Carano fired from The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's really...
You talk about a company, having, had the rights to do, to fire people, but, like, they didn't have the right to do that. I mean, at least it's not... It shows that you're a bad company when you do shady shit like that.
I was going to say, it's a really shitty thing for them to do, and the only thing you can do, theoretically...
And the thing also, like...
It's not support them.
Huh?
I said the only thing you can do, theoretically, is just not support that company anymore.
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, we don't really know. Even Gina didn't really say, because she was going back and forth. We don't know if... Was it just Lucasfilm who fired on? Or was it Disney who fired, or was it Disney and Lucas come in the joint fired home? And it just just like James Gunn. Like, we didn't know who actually fired who. I think it ended up being said that it was more Disney that fired James Gunn, which also fuck James Gunn. He actually supported Hall being fired. I'm like, dude, you went through the exact same thing, and yet you support this. Well,
like I said,
he's a liberal, so
it also comes down.
And he said something way worse. He was making jokes about child raping children in 9/11. So to me that was worse. I mean,
it depends on how you take
he was
the subject.
He was making jokes about it.
Yeah, it's, to me, it was a very misguided comment she made on Twitter. Well, retweeted on Twitter. Shouldn't have done that. And like I said, it's well within their right to fire her. I think it's a dumb move. It's within their right. It's the problem with if you put an opinion out. Like I said, someone could take the copy of this podcast, or my boss could watch it from home, and then be more on your side of the thing and be like, oh no, it was really stupid. I don't think she should have been fired. And then I come into work tomorrow and him be like, you know what, Gabby? You're fired. And we'd be like, but why? And him be like, well, you put that opinion out in public space. And I'd be like, I did, though. I did. It's just, like I said,
I just feel like, Disney just needed. If it really was just Lucasfilm firing him, because Kathleen Kennedy should have been fired a long time ago, but Lucasfilm just needs to. They are the boss. They should go in there and fix the fucking problem. I guarantee you. I feel like it was just bunch of liberal bullshit, and that Kathleen Kennedy did a video for the Oscars talking about strong, independent women in Hollywood. Like, hey, you had a strong, independent woman, and you fired him.
It's just literally she's a UFC fighter.
And to me, like, Disney should have stepped in a long fucking time ago, got rid of Kathleen Kennedy, got rid of the store group, Lucasfilm store group, and I guarantee you, Gina would still be there.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
I strongly believe that. And
what would have been a better way to handle this, especially looking at people, because there are a lot of Nazis running around anymore, literal Nazis who think that that's a great thing to do and that they never did anything wrong. Anyway, what would have been better is to fire Gina, to make her a public, say, okay, we're going to bend to your public will, or to make her do something like community service to a Jewish community. If you think that she's a Nazi and she has a problem, and the only thing she did was tweet about it once in a way that wasn't praising Nazi government, it was pointing out how an evil government can take over, you could take that either way. I took it as she was talking about being Republicans being censored, but she might have been talking about how Democrats were censored under Trump and stuff, that people didn't feel like they could talk about it. It wasn't. There was a makeup not a makeup artist, but makeup. She had her own makeup line. She was removed from her makeup line, even though she still receives the funds from it, because she had some troubling views, and her husband had swastikas tattooed all over him, and they had made some pretty public, like, the Nazis did nothing wrong kind of comments. That's where you can clearly draw the line, is where there's a idealism there that says that they support the torture or discrimination of Jewish or Muslim or any race that isn't blonde hair and blue eyed. That's where you could draw your line. Like I said, though, it still goes back to she's a public figure and that was her opinion, and they have the right to do it. Then it comes down to everyone who's listening to no longer support Disney. Because I'm sure Disney, especially since they were going to have a new show with her in there, and Disney had done the stockholders, announcement, with that being a big thing, I'm sure they had to get permission from Disney to do that.
Yeah, and then not just rumors. No one has came forward actually about it, but Jon Favreau, the co-creator of The Mandalorian, is actually very pissed off about this, that they fired Hong. And
I'm sure she was a major part of The Mandalorian going forward.
Yeah, and like I say, she had her own TV show coming out, The Rangers of the Old, or the New Republic, or whatever. And he wrote that part for her specifically. So, yeah. You
just gotta pull another UFC chick out and be like, hey, you gonna go to WWE? Does it mean you can act a little? You want to go star in the middle of a TV show?
And a lot of the whole coach, like Carl Weathers, after she got fired, he posted on Twitter, didn't really say nothing. He just posted a clip from when they was doing a reaction video. Him, Gina, and Pablo doing a reaction video of them watching the trailer for The Mandalorian, and said something like peace or something like that. And, I can't remember. He was very vague, but a lot of people took it as he was, he stand with Gina Carano, like that he was against Lucasfilm firing on, and many other actors she worked with on there also was with Gina. So people who worked with them liked them. So
Right.
it just like Gina said, the crazy twiddle moms, as she job used, attacked them.
They did. And Disney listened because they seem to be the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
And the loudest wheel gets greased.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think she should still, if she hasn't already, she might have. It might have been in those articles that she made a public apology and stated she isn't anti-Semitic. She has no ill will to Jewish people whatsoever.
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah, because that would be something.
It wasn't nothing like a political apology. It was just how, after she took it down or whatever. And she's like, it's like, you guys misunderstood what I was saying. This
Yeah.
is what I meant to say, not this. And of course, it doesn't matter what you say after that.
Yeah, once it's been done.
Yeah.
Once you hit send, your world over.
I think enough about that one. I think we can our piece. And for the record, because like me and my friend, because he pays for like HBO, I pay for Disney, he pays for Netflix, I pay for whatever. I can't remember what he pays, what I pay. But we actually did sat down twice, 2 different times. Like, should we cancel Disney Plus because of this? And no, we not. Even though it pisses us both off, we are not, because I have been enjoying WandaVision. And as soon as WandaVision is done, they're gonna have the Marvel's the Falcon and Winter Soldier, where that looks pretty awesome. So we got that going. We did cancel Netflix after the Dark Crystal, but we got it back when Cobra Kai came on, and I need to cancel that again because now I don't need Netflix anymore.
Man, I just pay for Netflix. You can use my Netflix.
Yeah, it's fun.
You both can, technically. I mean, I use your Disney, so. Yeah. I guess I probably should have put that more towards, like, the very end of everything. Because that's... How do you... I mean, what's your natural segue? Anyway. So the Bad Batch, we were talking about that they're gonna have the honor of premiering on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, which is exactly a year after the end of Clone Wars for Disney Plus. So that's interesting.
So by the time the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show is finished, that will probably be coming on.
Mm-hmm.
See, we just can't cancel it because, like I said, I watched the trailer that they just put out, and it was actually pretty awesome. Even though I'm not really into the clone, the clone troopers and stuff, but it looked pretty awesome. It looked like it was, because like the last season of the Clone Wars had a lot better animation, and this looked like it have even better animation.
Nice.
And so, from the Clone Wars.
So Disney won't get their comeuppance because pretty much they know they have everyone in their pocket. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as they
Well,
don't get rid of
people...
anyone that someone actually really enjoys. Like if they fired Mark Hamill, I imagine.
Yeah, but they kind of did, not letting him be in a Skywalker movie.
Yeah, but they didn't technically fire him. They just said...
They just neutered him.
Yep. Also, speaking of that, Ryan Johnson, according to an interview with Sarah Wilson, I'm pretty sure it's how you say that name. I'm pretty sure that I is there for flavor. Sarah Wilson had an interview with Ryan Johnson and stated that he is still set to develop his trilogy for Star Wars after he completes some projects, but I don't know if he's just saying that to say it, because this is just an interview with someone. It's not that it's been confirmed, it's just he's going, yeah, I'm still doing that.
The thing is, though, but because he probably got a contract with Disney or Lucasfilm that, I get my own. Like, because I can guarantee you, like, if Lucasfilm came to me like, hey, you can be the next director of Star Wars, but you have to kill off Luke Skywalker. It's like, well, I better be getting something out of this, It's like, how about my own trilogy? of what I want, and do whatever I want with it. Okay, because think about it, that's a trilogy that's like with the sequel trilogy. It came out every 2 years. Like the Skip one did the like Rogue One, Star Wars movie. Then we got the Last Jedi. Then we got Solo. Then we got Rise. That was like what 6 years.
Yeah.
So that's almost not quite a decade, but 10 years. That's pretty good for a filmmaker to have work for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. That's
I know.
good to do whatever you want because you got to kill Luke Skywalker off.
And you have a franchise that, even if people are really disturbed and disappointed,
Yeah, it's gonna make money one way
Yeah.
or another, and that's the thing is that because Disney pays him out of his contract, which is probably gonna be way more than what the movies are, and then like or allow him to make it, and maybe you might be able to get some type of profit from it.
or allow cancel culture to take over and him really screw up, and you be like, hey, by the way, we don't like what you said, and we kind of had the grounds to believe you're damaging our public face of our company, so you're fired. They might be doing that as well.
You say that when James Gunn got fired for tweets from years ago, Ryan Johnson was reported that he deleted 1,000 tweets. See, that's the thing, like, 'cause Ryan Johnson's a big bullshit feminist type person. Like, he said we don't need no more white men Gractons. Like, you are a white man Gracton, so like we don't need you. I mean, it's just
Well, that's 'cause if you have more directors, Michael, he's gonna have more competition. So
yeah. And what are you saying? We need more female Gractons.
you just need more talented directors.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like
Or involved with Hollywood.
we don't need more female Gractons. We don't need more black Gractons. We just need more talented Gractons.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to the Black Panther thing, like that one film critic whoever said that the reason why Black Panther was so good was because it was directed by a black guy. To me, that was racist, and I'm like, no, it's because Ryan Coogler, or however you say his last name, the Gracton, is an actual good Gracton.
Yeah.
He's great. I watched a couple of his other movies, and can't wait to see all the ones that he would make after him. But yeah, I know a lot of like some of the YouTubers that I follow. They're all like, yeah, Ryan Johnson got canceled. His trilogy got canceled. I'm like, guys, this Hollywood politics. I guarantee you, he has a contract. Because like, why would you voluntarily kill off Luke Skywalker? I mean,
Yeah.
like that's like he hadn't known that could destroy his career as a director. Like, you the one who fucked up Star Wars. You killed Luke Skywalker. So he probably was like, nah, I want it in writing.
Goes back to J.J. Abrams came in with his last film and it didn't do any better, so Ryan Johnson was sitting there when that
Because they
happened.
didn't release the JJ's cut.
Is that a thing?
Kind of was at one point. Now it just seems like everyone just like fuck it. I mean, those was rumors from a pretty reliable guy, not Mike Zero though, but from another person who has been correct before and said that that Kathleen Kennedy was causing a lot of problems, that Disney was causing a lot of problems too, because they was putting, just like Warner Brothers, everything we was hearing, it sounds exactly like what Zack Snyder, the problem with Zack Snyder with Warner Brothers executives.
It's just any kind of. It goes back to Demon Slayer. It goes back to Dragon Ball Z. God, the only person who got away with it was the writer of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He got to do whatever the hell he wanted to. And the manga key of, they're just those people who get to do whatever they want to.
Yeah, because they went to the right studio.
Yep. But in America, at least for, and I'm guessing the same thing in Japan, for a lot of your movies, you don't really have that option. You have your independent films, but then if you have an independent film, is it going to be picked up by any movie theaters?
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, either way, it kind of goes back to it's Star Wars with Ryan Johnson has a new movie coming out, and he can literally be this is Star Wars, but everyone's shaped like poop. People would probably still go to the theaters to see it if that really was it.
Because it's Star Wars,
Because it's
or
Star Wars.
because it's Disney.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I
just,
mean that's the reason why the sequel trilogies even made money, is because it was Star Wars.
yeah.
But it didn't make as much money as it should have been.
And it didn't have Jar Jar Binks in it. Even though that was. See, that goes back to prequels being original, at least.
Mm-hmm.
In a way. Still original. It's just, you had Jar Jar Binks, so they made sure they didn't have a Jar Jar Binks, and they were alright. Speaking of someone who's not Jar Jar Binks, rumors are circulating that Mina Muzad from the 2019 Aladdin movie has been chosen to bring Ezra Bridger in the upcoming Ahsoka series to life.
Which I called it.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, because you said, you're like, I wonder when they're going to do a live action Ezra, Bridger. I said it would be in the Ahsoka series. And also, of course, we talked about in a previous podcast, the actress Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she's been being attacked, and again by the cancel culture, crazy feminists at JWs after firing of Gina. Again, about the whole transphobia accusations against him that was dropped a long time ago.
Was she J.K. Rowling and saying that trans people didn't have the right to go to the bathroom?
Actually, what I think was more that mom said something like in private, and then someone cried. The trans person sued them, but hey, why sue the mom who doesn't have no money when you got the daughter who is a big time Hollywood actress? Sue the actress with the money and you get the money, but it all been dropped. So I mean that can go both ways. I mean, it could mean that they just paid that person off, or it actually there was nothing, no actual evidence of it, so they dropped it.
Or both.
Yeah.
Just get everything to go away.
And Henry Cavill, who being attacked now because people found out that him and Gina dated for like a year.
Who's Henry Cavill?
Superman.
Oh.
The Witcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just say this random guy's name, and I'm like, oh, huh.
I mean, like, they really know how to pick people to attack. Gina, UFC fight on Henry Cavill, Superman. I mean,
Keanu Reeves is someone else you don't want to attack. I don't know if cancel culture has ever gone after Keanu Reeves or not.
No, I don't think so.
It needs to be a drinking game. But maybe, we'll see. It depends on, because I've seen one of the comic issue covers of Berserk, issue number 1, the upcoming comic from Keanu Reeves and Matt Kent, featuring artwork by Ron Garney, has broken a few sales records before its official debate. And I wonder, because apparently one of the gimmicks of this comic, which is pretty interesting, is that they have different covers. So it's like a trading game of which comic has a different cover. And one of them...
I think, is, because it started on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you get the exclusive Kickstarter cover, and if you get the pre-order, you get the exclusive pre-order cover. Yeah.
Yeah, it one of those covers looks pretty traditional, pretty traditionally masculine. They might come after him because it had a chick in the background, and she looked like a chick. Anyway, not going sidetracked here. The comic has already received over 600,000 copies sold through pre-order. It's the best-selling comic of 2020, and is the highest sold comic since Star Wars issue 1 released in 2015. This comic is also the highest selling comic of Boom Studios. The comic has faced a delay, but only by 1 month, which is pretty reasonable. Usually you hear delay and it's like, by the way, we're pushing this back for 5 months. We're going to push this back to Christmas. But it's only a month, so that's not too bad.
I think that was a personal attack, but okay. Because it was pushed back. My comic was pushed back to almost Christmas.
Shh, Michael, you weren't supposed to catch on to that.
Um, but yeah, this just proves how because like DC and Marvel, they haven't sold any comics like that since 2015. Because that would be Marvel, because Star Wars is from Marvel. Um, Star Wars comics is being done by Marvel.
See, they really missed the mark, and Star Wars was almost on the mark. If you're gonna, because social justice warriors are all like, you had to have a strong female. No, you just have to have a really hot looking guy, and they based the main character off of Keanu Reeves, it looks like anyway.
Yeah,
And Keanu Reeves is
it's
hot.
just an autobiography of Keanu Reeves.
It looks like it. The girl might not be too bad then.
In a post-apocalyptic world, and he running around with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just Keanu Reeves, I think he rides a motorcycle too in the comic, which Keanu Reeves always riding a motorcycle.
See, that's the thing. You have to have, you either have a hot guy or a hot chick, and if you have both of them in the same comic, you're pandering to everyone. If you have a hot guy, a hot chick, and a lizard person, you're pandering to literally everyone. You get you some furries in there, and you've got all of your bases covered for the most part.
Yeah. Plus, the people writing in the art are comic book veterans. They've been in the business, so they're excellent creators.
Actually, it's like your comic book, Michael, because your main character, she's hot. Yoda looks like a hot gremlin, and that's pretty good. And then the main villain looks hot. So you did also a really good job pandering to every kind of audience, because Yoda could be considered humanoid, but he's not really human. So I don't know if that makes you a furry or not. If you like aliens, are you a furry? Also, hot button topic, but I'm just kind of wondering now, because aliens don't look like humans, so does that make you a furry if you like an alien? So if you think that Yoda looks hot, does that therefore make you a furry? Anyway, yes, you did a good job on your comic. You have hot characters.
But yeah, this is, to me, like, going back to what I was saying, it's not that people are not buying comic books anymore. It's just people are done with DC and Marvel's bullshit, adding feminist crap or social justice warrior crap into it. Like we talked in the previous podcast, how Marvel, one of the head writers, who is an activist, blog on, like, why is she there? They're pandering to the wrong people. Kanye Reeves and these other guys are pandering to the right people, and that's how they end up outselling these guys. DC and Marvel being the biggest comic book companies of all time, and they outsold them.
Yeah, because it's pretty simple on how you truly be a social justice warrior. You don't insult anyone by trying to pander to them and be like, here's this character from a small, we'll say ethnic group, and you don't know how to write for that ethnic group, but by God, you're going to put that in there because that supposedly makes that person of that possible ethnic group feel better. No, you make a good character, you make a good story. They don't have to be a certain skin color, white, orange, yellow, it doesn't matter. It's just a good character, a good story. You don't bring up their sexuality as a main plot, but if they want to be gay and they happen to be gay, power to them, because the whole thing is you have a good plot and a good story. If you start caring more about, goes back to Demon Slayer, if you try to make your character be instantly, I know what kind of person this is based off of their style of clothing, that I can instantly tell their personality and everything they stand for, that's not a good character, that's a caricature. Kimetsunoyaiba is not like that the whole time. It's a very good story and the characters are very interesting. It's just that first glance at the Hashira it's not the best way to bring that up, because it sounds again like we're saying it's a bad story. It's not. It's just, you can tell obviously, that's a girly girl and she likes flowers just by looking at her. If you're doing a social justice warrior story and you have a character and you're like, that person's going to have some very strong political opinions and they look nothing like a human that I usually have seen, that's a problem. If you have a character and you're like, they're a really cool person, I want to be like them. You're saying that they're from, let's see, Africa? and then they grew up in a tribal. That's really cool. I want to be like that person. It's why so many of us weebs wouldn't be Japanese, is they've made the Japanese people really cool in anime.
Hmm.
And again, I don't know if I'm being racist or not. There's a delicate scale there, and you start saying stuff, and it's like, oh no, you're a bona fide racist. Thanks. I'm not. I'm just saying people, because it doesn't matter what your skin color is. A person and a person-driven story is what people want to see.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your sexuality is. I mean, we've seen the cover. I don't know. Have you read the comic yet? Have you read a synopsis of the comic?
Yeah. The only thing I read, because I don't think it's actually released yet.
No, it's not yet. But
but like I said, it's like in a kind of like a Mad Max kind of apocalyptic world, and like I said, Connie Reed's has its katana and stuff.
see, that's the reason people are going to read that. I saw the one comic book cover where I'm judging it because there's a chick who looks like, I don't know, some classic damsel in distress, kinda, even though I'm only seeing her face. So I'm kinda geared towards that anyway. But let's just say, in this story, because there's also a dude on there, and I'm assuming, I might read this, I'm going to read it anyways. Well, would possibly read it anyways. Keanu Reeves with a samurai sword. But let's just say I'm assuming this, but let's then find out that actually the dude is his love interest and the chick is his best buddy sidekick. It's not going to change the fact that I like it, and it probably wouldn't for the majority of the people because it's still a well done piece.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Yeah, it just, again, it's so amazing that, because Boom Studios is not a big studio. As far as I know, that was like more or less just Stan Lee's personal comic book studio. That it mainly was just him making a comic book, and they just released it. That's all they was doing, and I mean, it's Stan Lee, but you know, most people just gonna read Marvel and not really just Stan Lee's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his personal stuff. But so yeah, and also like myself, too, like I'm still selling more physical printed copies than anything digital or people ordering offline. I mean, I guess they are ordering the physical copies offline. Yeah, but I mean, like a PDF of it, like there's more people buying the physical printed copy of it.
It goes back to humanity. We always want to have that security of having something tangible. And even though it's a PDF, we don't trust technology because we've had stuff be wiped before. You don't want to buy a PDF of something and then have it immediately destroyed. You want to have your tangible copy and be able to keep an eye on it, take care of it, and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe one of these days technology will get to the point where you can feel like a digital copy is tangible. Pokemon. Best news. Almost. After Chadwick Boseman's wife. That was really touching. You should still go watch that. Pokemon has finally responded to fan requests and is creating the first open world Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. The game will be coming out to the Switch in 2022.
On a Super Switch.
Probably so. Probably why it's an open world game. I am so excited. There's a company that actually listened to their fan base because I don't know for how long people, like for one, when Pokemon X and Y came out, one of the things that people were super excited about in that game is you could finally customize your character to look pretty much how you wanted. You could change your clothes and do all this other stuff. It wasn't just a preset character. You could change your hair color and stuff. And at first, the Pokemon Company was like, well, listen, we're not going to do that going forward. We're just doing that for this region because it was set in France, and France is very much fashion forward, so that's why we were doing it. But people liked it so much they kept that mechanic, and that's been in all the new games since. Not in the remakes, but in the new ones going forward. So this is, again, them listening and being like, okay, you really, really like the open world stuff, even though I've heard YouTubers say, well, Pokemon's never going to change the way they do stuff. They are for this. They're actually doing an open world set adventure.
Yeah, and I watched the trailer for it, and it looked pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, well, this reminded me of Breath of the Wild, though. The setting.
Yeah.
And like, cause like it did this one shot of him, the Pokemon trainer walking up, and then stop, and the camera was falling, and it kept going, and then saw this whole vast world and stuff, just like Breath of the Wild. So I should have looked that up and see if they are the developers of the game.
It will be interesting. Usually, Game Freak develops them, and it is a mainline. I think it's a mainline Pokemon game. You know, it might not be. Pokemon Legends Arceus. That might not be a mainline game because usually they have two versions and they have them two different names, so it might not be. I know it's funny because I remember playing the Gold and Silver and Crystal later, and part of the mechanic in there was you go and collect acorns and give it to a guy who makes Pokemon balls out of acorns. And one of the articles I was reading, the guy's like, how am I, because you have Arceus in there, that's pretty much the god of Pokemon. It literally is the creator of Pokemon. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go up to Arceus and with my acorn ball, throw it at him and capture him in an acorn. That makes sense. Like, yeah, Pokemon's kind of weird about that anyway.
Like, the only thing I didn't like, because I'm from the old school ones, Pokemon, so any of the newer Pokemon after Generation 1, I do not know any of them at all. I don't know, I never even heard of the Stardom Pokemon, the 3 starter Pokemon. It's not Pikachu, like Charizard, not Charizard, but the...
Charizard. Charmander.
Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Those were the starters when I was a kid. But this 3 starter now, I don't even know who they are, and like, oh, well.
I forgot who they were. Let me look it up and see if I can think of them, because I know it's for one, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure they're Pokemon. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so you have Cyndaquil, that's Generation 2. The Owlet, yep, Owlet, that's Generation, oh boy, what generation? That's Sun and Moon. I forget what generation that is. And Oshawott, which is interesting because Oshawott's from Diamond and Pearl. So I think Diamond and Pearl was your 4th generation. So then X and Y is your, well, it's Black and White. Black and White was after Diamond and Pearl, that's 5th. X and Y was 6th. So then Sun and Moon would have been 7th. I think Sword and Shield's 8th. So it is interesting. You don't have new starters. You're choosing from starters from various regions. Technically, the only starter that's from that region is Oshawott, water type. He turns into like a samurai, if I recall. Look in Final Evolution. Anyway, it's interesting that they're mixing those because this is considered a prequel. Obviously, acorn balls and stuff from the Pokemon Company. It's going to be interesting how this, it really will be, how all this kind of goes together and how they build the storyline. Because each region you go to, I guess technically they've always had Pokemon, but it's interesting that they're all mixing your starters together in one region from various generations.
They just need to do Generation 1 and be fine.
No. How else am I going to get my Finnegan?
Josh and I are playing Pokemon Go, and they add all the new on Generation 1's like, well, like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's like, we didn't know none of them. We keep catching them. Like, I never even heard of this one.
Did you get the walking trash yet?
The what?
Washing trash, rubbish or something? It's literally a Pokemon that's a garbage bag. A walking garbage bag. That was fun because that was Black and White. Black and White was their first American take on Pokemon. And our Pokemon was literal garbage. Because it was supposed to be off in New York City. So that was interesting. Speaking of Oshawott from Diamond and Pearl are finally getting remakes, and the game will be out later this year. And the names will be Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which really messed me up while I was writing this because I kept wanting to say Shining Diamond. I'm pretty sure that's a JoJo's reference. I kept wanting to be like, Shining Diamond, diamonds aren't breaking. Nope, it's Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. The games will be coming out.
Pink Floyd.
Huh?
I was singing the Pink Floyd song.
Yeah, and that's why.
Crazy Diamond.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a lot of their names are taken from rock bands. Like Dio, Brando. A lot of their stand users or powers and stuff That's from rock bands and stuff. The mangaka was really into that. So, like one of the guys has a stand that's called Stairway to Heaven, I believe. Yeah. So anyway, the Diamond and Pearl remakes are also the first mainline games to be developed by a company other than Game Freak, as these games are produced by ILCA. So I believe that might be, judging by the art style, possibly the same people who did Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
I don't know. I didn't play those.
I haven't got to play those either, but mostly because I like to Nuzlocke a Pokemon game, and you can Nuzlocke Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. It's incredibly hard to, because you don't battle Pokemon. It's like Pokemon Go. You capture Pokemon to level up. The whole point of a Nuzlocke is you only capture one Pokemon per route. So it's really hard to level up your Pokemon. We can only capture one Pokemon per route.
I'm still waiting for the actual like AR or VR headset where I can put a VR headset, walk around outside, and like there'd be a Pikachu there, and I can throw a Pokeball at it. I'm still waiting for that to the game.
Give it 4 more years. Apple Glass has to get their glasses better first.
Something like from the Sword Art Online movie Oracle skills, where they just put on the glasses and then they had the remote thing and it acted as a sword and thing. I mean, to me, I think that could easily be done because they all went to like the park and stuff, and the jungle gym chained into a castle, and there's a a monster and a giant there, and they had to fight. And I just feel like this. I think that we have the technology. Okay, well, I guess we're done with this podcast. This is a really long ass podcast.
Have a good night and stay safe, everyone.
And
we'll catch you next month.
Yeah, make sure to like, subscribe. Yeah, go to the links and everything. And see ya.
See ya.